Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you all for coming. Much appreciative for a very special 100th anniversary of Local 416. Well, this local got started as it was Local 43 when we started. First meeting of the local at the time actually wasn't called the local, it was called Lodge 43. And we actually still have the original minutes of the very first meeting on October 22nd, 1917. And at that point, we had 188 members. So we've come a long way. We've done a lot of work. It was a bunch of World War I veterans returning from war that decided to get this thing started. And it just moved on from there. And as a local, we've continued to provide the citizens of Toronto with a great service. And our members go out there and do the best they can at every time. Thank you. I just wanted to take a moment, just a quick moment of silence for all the members of brothers and sisters that have passed from Local 416. Thank you.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and of course, I'm particularly delighted to be here with so many of my colleagues. They've all been mentioned, but I should mention them again. Deputy Mayor Glenn de Bearmaker, Councillor Paula Fletcher, Councillor Jim Karajanis, Councillor Kristen Wong-Tam, Councillor Nathan Shen, Councillor Mike Layton, and Councillor Shelley Carroll. And did anybody else show up in the meantime? Oh, and there's Councillor Janet Davis, just making her way here. You know, it's not every day that a person or an organization turns 100. I was just thinking that gives me 36 years to go. I got 36 more years before I turn 100. But if you think about it, it's a long time, especially in the life of this country. It's a young country. The city is relatively young. And so to have an organization like this that's 100 years old and has had 100 years, a century of partnership with the city is really quite remarkable. You know, more so than any of the other weighty issues we deal with down here, people just want their services delivered for the money they pay in their taxes. That's the first expectation they have of us, and I think that's pretty reasonable. And you do that, and you do it in a way that we can be proud of. I respect public servants. I've tried to conduct myself in a way that reflects that. I respect public service, and I've tried to conduct myself in a way that reflects that as well. And I'm very grateful for the hard work that you do. And I've tried here to make sure we're running a place that really fosters respect for each other. And that means the people who work with the city, the people who are councillors, other governments, because I think we have to be founded on respect. The city's doing well right now. I mean, and your efforts are a big part of that, but the city is doing well. If you look at some of the successes we're having attracting investment and so on, and that's important to create jobs so that we can have the prosperity to pay for the public services. I will tell you, I've had my first meeting with Eddie as your president, and he's been in to visit with me a couple of weeks ago. I look forward to him coming, and we agreed we would meet on a regular basis so that he can keep me up to date, and he's discussed things with me like the benefits administration and things that are sometimes a little bit aggravating and rocky. And that's why we sit down to have those meetings, so that I'm aware of these concerns and so that I can address them as one member of council. Admittedly, I only have one vote on all these things, but I do have a special opportunity and a platform that I can help raise these things. So I again congratulate you on the 100th anniversary. I thank you for the work that you and all of your brothers and sisters do each and every day for the city, and I look forward to a proper but productive and constructive and positive relationship between us in the time going forward. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Eddie, and the local for asking me to say a few words here today at this really auspicious occasion of the 100th anniversary of your local. And it's really interesting that 43 was born out of a fight over a flag, the right to put up a flag, and here we are today raising your flag proudly in the city. Because back then in 1917, sanitation worker's son had died in the war, and he put up a Union Jack on the sanitation wagon. And one of the commissioners of the city told him to take that down. He ripped it off and said, "You can't have that flag on that sanitation wagon." And all of his co-workers and him took a 2-week holiday from collecting things in the city of Toronto, and out of that fight over the flag, the right to show respect for a fallen son, the right to be respected as workers in the city of Toronto, Local 43 was born a number of months later. 100 years, here we are, proudly flying your 100-year flag. So congratulations to you on a long and productive 100 years. You all know who you represent, but I'm not sure all of councillors and others might know that Toronto Water, such an important service in the City of Toronto, represented by 416. Our parks, thank you very much for all of the work you do there. Animal Services, we have a dog here this morning. I'm not sure if the dog was brought in order to support the 100th anniversary. Solid Waste, your beginnings, your humble beginnings, sanitation in the City of Toronto. Parking Authority, Toronto Community Housing, and I want to thank you for the work you do there. It's so important to have good union jobs in a city. How do you raise a family without a good income? How do we bring prosperity to the city if everybody has a bad job? So I am very committed, as I know my colleagues are committed, to ensuring good union jobs here in the City of Toronto for 416 and others. But we all believe that services should be for people. It should not be a profit-making exercise. So many years ago, the campaign not to sell Toronto Water, and I want to pay tribute to my colleague Janet Davis, who spearheaded that when water was up for sale after amalgamation. She was not Councillor Davis then, she was Janet Davis, citizen at that point. She led that big fight. City Council turned that down as a bad idea. And everywhere around the world where they've done that, it's turned out to be a bad idea. Parking Authority recently thought, well, maybe we can make a lot of money off of that, even though we get about $24 million a year profit into the city. We'd sell that off. I think it's not worth it. You proved that. You campaigned against that. We have an obligation to make sure that those who are less fortunate, who need a leg up, who need help while they're struggling, have a good, safe place to live. And I will very much say that our current mayor, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, for making that something that's important to you. For the tenants in Toronto Community Housing, we appreciate that. We applaud you for working with us to make sure we're not selling, we're making it better. And lastly, I just want to say you weren't kicked to the curb, were you? You're still at the curb, picking up solid waste in District 4 and District 3 and doing a fantastic job. Good job on that. You showed that public services are not inflated costs. Public services can be done at a very good cost. In fact, cheaper, it turns out, sometimes than private services. And everyone's well paid with good benefits. They're not hurt and then fired and the next person comes on the job. So I want to thank you for all you do every day. I want to thank you for allowing me to say a few words. And I want to say 100 years strong, many more years to come. Congratulations.
I guess it's time to put the flag up. So if some of the councillors and Mayor Tory would like to join me. The map coordinates for the City of Toronto, you end up with 43 latitude and 79 longitude, just in case anybody's wondering.